to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. The President-elect William Samoei Ruto is very worried. And what is worrying Deputy President is something about the state of the economy. And I listened to his speech in Meru when he was attending a Thanksgiving ceremony there. And he spoke about the fate of reducing the price of unga, fuel, did not mention fuel, but about also the Hustler Fund. The worry and the distress that the president-elect is finding himself in is coming after a reality check meeting with Ministry of Finance and Treasury officials. And in what he's saying, that he met these officials to plan on how he can deliver on what he promised Kenyans, I think he got the shock and the reality of the state of the country. And during campaign trail, I insisted that President Uhuru Kenyatta wanted continuity, because President Uhuru Kenyatta knew the state of the economy, what was achievable and what was not achievable. And I can say without fear of contradiction that anyone who will take the docket of agriculture, treasury, and energy, these three CS, these three positions, and also I also want to include education, because the public seems to be buying a campaign narrative that CBC is supposed to be scrapped off. Now, those four ministries, I can tell you that they have to be very careful and be people that can go and defend themselves in the public, the way Deputy President William Ruto is planning to do or is now doing. And without much ado, I want you to listen to this 3-minute clip when Deputy President William Ruto was speaking in Meru.
Mimi nataka mjue, tayari nimefanya mkutano na Wizara ya Kilimo ili tuanze kushughulikia bei ya unga. Na vile wiki ijayo nitawatangazia wakulima wetu wa Kenya ambao wanatusaidia kuzalisha mahindi, ngano na cereals zote. Tutawatangazia bei mpya. Saa hizi wananunua mbolea kwa shilingi 6,500, lakini wiki ijayo tutawatangazia bei mpya ya mbolea, ndio tuweze kuwasaidia wakulima wetu watusaidie kuzalisha chakula, ndio bei ya unga ianze kuteremka chini. Wakati tumeketi chini na mawaziri ama wale wanaosimamia uchumi wa Kenya, nimefanya mkutano mrefu pamoja na wao, na kwa kweli tuko na shida kubwa ya deni na uchumi wetu hauko mahali pazuri. Na wakati walitueleza vile mambo yalivyo, hakuna vile njia ingine, lazima waendelee na kuchimba. Lakini mimi nataka niwaeleze, niwaombe wa Kenya, hata ingawaje tuko na shida ya madeni, hata ingawaje uchumi yetu haiko mahali pazuri, kwa pamoja tunaweza kukwamua uchumi wa taifa letu la Kenya. Wakati niliambiwa vile mambo ya uchumi yalivyo, na tulikuwa na mkutano wa karibu masaa 10, mimi nawaomba wa Kenya hivi: sheria ya Kenya kwa sasa haijatusaidia sana tuwe na akiba. We have a problem and a challenge of savings in the Republic of Kenya. We don't save, yet the Bible tells us that we should. You can never have an inheritance to leave to your children if you don't save. Tunaelewana? Na tulitengeneza sheria. Mimi nataka niwaulize wa Kenya, imefika wakati we must save, ili tuwe na pesa ya kuweza kuendesha mpango yetu ya maendeleo.
I want to say here that I listened through the 29-minute speech by Deputy President, or now the President-elect, William Ruto in Meru. And you can see that William Ruto is very tensed. And even the purpose of making those Thanksgiving rallies and events that probably will continue from next week will just be an opportunity to create a defense line, to defend themselves before the voters. What he said in Meru will not be different. He might say the same thing on the state of the economy when he visits another place. And of course, the Kenyan voters are gullible. So, especially, the common man is very gullible. So, they're gonna buy that. And I can say something, that Ruto is tensed over a looming backlash. The looming backlash is because of expectations are just so high, and this is coming because of the state of the cost of living. But the Treasury is simply telling him that, look here, this is what is possible, this is what is not possible. And let's just draw some two extract some few issues addressed in that in that speech. Ruto is calling for domestic savings so that the government can borrow locally. He's saying that the government do not have money. They go and borrow abroad because the local market do not have enough that government can take. But I also suppose the local borrowing, because ukikopa kutoka nje, the interest is high and there are other restrictions and even ways of debt servicing. Yeah? Of course, you can always renegotiate, but the issue of debt servicing is here. So William Ruto is finally admitting about the issue about the debt. Remember, at one point, they blamed President Uhuru Kenyatta's government for overborrowing. Number two, and this is the twist, reduce the price of fertilizer, and he's simply saying, I will reduce the price of fertilizer to boost food production. And in that speech, there is nowhere that the president-elect mentioned that is going to bring down the price of unga instantly. That's where the backlash is. But then, he has a way of managing it. I want to challenge this by saying that the plan, by saying if you reduce the price of fertilizer, so it will boost the production, the scale of production, it is a very straight path, and it's a strategy that can work. However, my business teacher, Mr. Michael Washika, in Agoro Yombe, once told me that there are different factors of production. There is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. So you need to look at it. Entrepreneurship is where there is the value addition of the product, especially when you talk about the unga. So you need to look at it holistically. Now, if you lower the price of unga, the price of fertilizer, what have you reduced amongst the factors of production? So it might not directly boost, and even boosting that may not directly mean the price will go down, because I think it's just trying to use the law of demand cover, where when the supply is high and the demand remains there, the price will go down. For people who did economics, I don't want to go beyond that. So, however, that can be applied for unga. How about fuel? Are we going to increase the supply of fuel in the country by investing in mining in Turkana in the next few months so that we can have supply of fuel, then the price will go down. How about the price of drugs? When I did the fundraiser for SAR, I just realized that the price of drugs is really high. Are we going to manufacture our own drugs here so that we can have big supply and price go down? The answer is this. The president-elect, William Samoei Ruto, go after the cartels. Because that's where the problem is. Go after the cartels, the people who hoard products, because the inflation of the unga, the fuel, most of it is artificial. These are people that you can crack the whip, as the way we were saying in Meru, and bring it, put things right. However, and this is what this is interesting about the president-elect, about Kenya, UDA government. Someone said there is no Kenya Kwanza. The UDA government. William Ruto is one person that will have a very good communication channel and team to talk to Kenyans. So we are not worried. We'll find avenues of asking these questions when is there. And Ruto will also go to the rallies and speak about these issues. So in the light of that revelation, there are few things that I'm seeing. And I think I want to help. The hustlers, that billion budget that was a manifesto is going to suffer budget cuts. The billion budget projects, the Hustlers Fund, and others, the roads that were to be completed and all that. Remember, the UDA, William Ruto, was so specific that he was not going for capital-intensive projects. But that billion budget is going to suffer budget cuts. Simple one. 50 billion for the operationalization of the Hustlers Fund in 47 counties. I know counties receive around 300 something billion. So another added 50, that money is not there. So stay put. Now, Ruto might have to continue borrowing. So unfortunate that we were in parliament up to the last hour, the last day, criticizing President Uhuru Kenyatta for borrowing, but we never understood him when he said that this is what I can do now. Some of these things that are happening are beyond me, but by that time it was easy and it was very convenient to trivialize and to criticize his regime on the borrowing. But I am so glad that finally even Ruto is saying that, look here, this is what we can do. And so that is now the reality. What do you expect? Expect this. The not deputy president, is the president-elect. The president-elect will have to design a messaging strategy to control the masses. And this will be done with a target that there is high expectation, and they need to explain because in the first 100 days there was a lot of it. Even though the price of unga unaweza lipa subsidy for 3 months irudi chini kidogo kidogo, then it's done. And when the subsidy was done by President Uhuru Kenyatta, he was criticized for doing it for political mileage. However, what is now happening here is Deputy President will have to continue going to the rallies and organize more Thanksgiving places in different parts of the country and in different churches, and use those platforms to explain to the voters on what has not been done and what has not been done. However, this is the challenge. When you say that I've not done, this cannot be done because of this reason, you must give a solution. And with those solution, William Ruto is a time frame person. So when the Kenyan voter will keep on hearing this excuse here and there that this was not done because of this was not done because of this, it might become monotonous. And people who are close to the president-elect, I know I'm not one of them, but what you can do is to make sure that you let the president operate from State House, so that people who are going to explain the government policies, the government agenda, and what government is doing should be the people on ground. But let the president keep off, because he's going to be held personally accountable because he is personally speaking about these things. And so, this is the other thing, finally, that you can see. There could be extensive counter blames on Uhuru's government, and Uhuru's government too might be used as a scapegoat. And not just that, anyone viable for blames in this government must keep off and stay far. If Raila there works with William Ruto, if Kalonzo Musyoka there moves close to this government, then expect a political warfare. And whatever is happening in government, and some of these budget cuts and the realities and the things that could not be achieved, anything that will be used as scapegoat might be there. And that is why I mentioned that people who will handle those ministries must be very careful. You must be someone who can also go to the public, not just technocrats who will keep in the offices, but people will also go to explain the government and agenda and position of government in different issues. That will be very important. And I think if there is going to be a clique of opposition leaders that we're going to join, that are going to play that role, then they must make sure that they separate politics from the real issue, because some of these budget cuts and some of these issues, expectations that cannot be achieved, will be given a political cover, that maybe we cannot achieve this because of this issue of political thing. For example, I just want to use a good example. If election reform picks up and someone is now taking people to the protest to protest about election reforms, or maybe opposition is running something parallel, what will they do? Someone will say that the government has failed to deliver because of XYZ. I support by saying, nailing this analysis by this: William Samoei Ruto and the UDA government should be given at most conducive atmosphere to work. I don't buy the idea. Listen to that clip. I don't buy his idea that for the government to deliver, they must have the opposition to work together. I don't think the opposition is going to help the government deliver, even though it might mean that they must make unpopular decisions. And so the honeymoon must end immediately after the Tuesday swearing in.